Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Westside Congregation in Rio Rancho. I am Janet Bellamy, Service Associate for today. Our speaker is Reverend Dr. Nancy Hitt, our consulting minister. Our program today is titled In It for the Long Haul. Our program is based on source number 1, direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Last week we explored hope as an important part of life in these stressful times. Today we will be exploring joy as a necessary ingredient in our lives, despite or perhaps even because of the reality of our daily headlines. We hope you will encounter more joy in your own life as a result. We extend our thanks today to Dana Sanford, as always, who monitors our sound and system, and to Steve Poyani, who is taping our service, and to Jay Kane, who is our greeter. If you are watching this on video, we welcome you. If you have questions or comments, please send them to ministeruuwc@gmail.com. If you are visiting our sanctuary for the first time, we welcome you here. Contact information is on the back of your bulletin. Here are the announcements for this week. Our board has determined that the best way for us to take care of the health needs of everyone in our congregation is to continue to wear masks whenever we are in the sanctuary, unless you are leading a portion of the service. If you need a mask, they are located on the table in the back of the room. Please remember to cover both your nose and mouth with the mask. At activities outside of the sanctuary, masking is encouraged but not required. Please continue to be aware of people's need to use social distance for safety's sake also. The board will review the policy at their regular monthly meetings. If you brought books, adult or children's, to be donated for our future Little Free Library project and book event, you may leave them in the conference room in front of the bookshelves. Dates for these events will be determined in the near future. Next Sunday, well, I'm going to start with this one because it comes before next Sunday. Next Friday, March 18th, the Drum Circle will meet at 6:30 in the social hall. Next Sunday, March 20th, RE Class 1 will meet in the conference room at 9 a.m. under Reverend Judy's guidance to discuss the book Summer at the End of the World. RE Class 2 will meet in the social hall at 9:50 for questions and answers in response to gender, sex, and sexuality program. Everyone is welcome to any or all of the classes. Next Sunday is also the town hall meeting and the Sunday potluck. If you are interested in joining the congregation, Reverend Nancy needs to know whether Saturday, March 19th or Saturday, April 7th is the better date for the new member class.
Second.
What did I say?
7.
Second. April 2nd is a better date. Which one of those two, March 19th or April 2nd, is a better date for the new member class. Class includes brunch, the sharing of information about UUWC, questions and answers, and whatever else is important to those in attendance. It goes from 9:30 to 12 noon and is a one-time event. Please let Reverend Nancy know of your interest. Are there any other announcements that need to be brought to our attention? Okay. Please stand as you are able as we light our chalice. Our chalice flame springs to life, sharing heat, light, and beauty with us. May it inspire us to live life more fully, more intentionally, and more joyfully. Shalom. Please join me in affirming our aspirations. Life is a gift. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Shalom. Okay, we're going to sing song number 123, Spirit of Life.
No.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the words of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you. Please be seated. I invite you to join me now in a moment for centering. Sit back and relax as comfortably as you can, wherever you may be. Sitting upright, yet relaxed. Uncross your ankles, knees, wrists. Let your hands go limp in your lap. Close your eyes if you are comfortable doing so, or choose a focal point and let your gaze go soft. Focus your attention on your breathing, letting go of stray thoughts or noises, the shifting of those around you. Just breathe fully and deeply, inhaling new energy, exhaling tension, inhaling peace, exhaling anxiety, inhaling confidence, exhaling exhaustion. Relax into your inner self and into your mind's eye. Let an image of joy appear. Perhaps it is the best day of your life, your greatest achievement, your biggest success, the best gift you ever gave someone you love, a time you knew yourself to be loved from the inside out. Picture the details of that experience. Notice the aromas, the colors, the people who are present, and take a moment to savor the depth of your joy. Notice who it connects you to. Is it calming and settling? or energizing and inspiring. Or perhaps its very own combination of the two. Revel in the power, the light, the love that is yours. Embrace this memory. Tuck it into a meaningful spot in your core. Know that it is always there to refresh you. Return your focus to your breath, relaxing into the rhythm of your breathing. In and out, and in and out. And when you are ready, return your focus to the here and now, and open your eyes. Shalom. As always, we set aside time to share our joys and concerns with each other. In doing so, we multiply our joys and support each other when we are in distress. We will light a candle for each one that you name. If you are viewing this online, please light your personal candle whenever you like. Here in the sanctuary, if you raise your hand, I will bring you the mic.
I have a joy that's a joy and a joy that should have been an announcement. The joy that's a joy is that Bram and Roxy are really enjoying their time in Vegas. Tonight is the concert, whatever metal band, Judas Priest tonight, and they're looking forward to that, and their cat and their guinea pig are doing fine. We're looking after them. The joy that should have been an announcement is really twofold. Today at Chili's, they're having margaritas for $3.13 to celebrate their anniversary. And tomorrow at Village Inn, you can get a whole pie with 2 dine-in entrees because it's Pie Day 3.14.
Wow.
Happy Pie Day, everyone.
That's great, I didn't know that.
Hi,
I want to take your mask now.
hi, my concern is a question. Are we still to bring food for only infants to the?
Oh, no, you can bring anything you want to the Storehouse West.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So it's almost not quite a joy, just some cautious optimism. My little kitty cat is responding unexpectedly well to her changed up medications and her sub-Q fluids, and has decided she's not ready to check out just yet. So that's where we are this week.
I hate to be the one that's going to be so negative.
That's a balance.
Pardon?
We need balance.
We need balance, okay. I'm just really, 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 really angry about what's going on in Ukraine and about our lack of response. I'm sorry, I think Putin's already started World War III, and I'm tired of hearing why we're sitting by watching genocide go on and doing nothing about it. There, I said here, thank you. Now, I'll talk about a joy. I actually leave on Thursday in my motor home to go to Tucson for a couple weeks.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm getting braver. I am.
I have a joy, and that is if you have not seen Beyond Van Gogh. It's in Albuquerque now. We went this week. It is absolutely amazing and beautiful and memorable, and try to see it. I don't know how long it's here, but it is still
End
here.
of April, I think.
End of April,
Yeah.
okay, well then try to get there.
Landon, yeah.
Anyone or anything else? All right, then we will light one final candle for all that we still hold
It's amazing as you go.
in the privacy of our own hearts and minds. Oh, right there, the red candle. You're
Oh,
fine.
yes, thank you.
And now we will light our red candle on behalf of all victims of racial violence. We pledge ourselves to continued vigilance and action against racism in all of its forms, both within and outside of ourselves. Shalom. Thank you. Now, the next thing is a very particular for today item, very timely in terms of your concern, Kathy. We are going to have a moment for Ukraine, during which we will sing "This Is My Song," and Janet will lead us in that. During these times when the headlines about Russia invading Ukraine are so awful, we want to remember the integrity of Ukraine as a country much loved by its citizens. You may have noticed, it would be kind of hard not to, the tablecloth of sunflowers here in the front. Sunflowers are especially beloved in Ukraine, where golden fields of them face the sunrise in the east. They are Ukraine's national flower, and in folk imagery represent the warmth and power of the sun, which was worshipped by ancient Slavs. So please take your hymnal, stand with me as you are able, and open it to number 159. Now, it is especially poignant that the song was originally sung as a form of covert protest. Are you ready for this? Against Russia. Against the 1899 manifesto from Tsar Nicholas II that declared Russia's right to rule Finland without the consent of local legislators. In fact, the title of the melody is Finlandia, and it could not be safely used at that time. It was known by about a half a dozen other different names until the Russian oppression ended, and it was safe, excuse me, to promote Finland again. So know that the words we are singing are wonderfully appropriate to the occasion, and we sing them especially on behalf of Ukraine. And the melody that we are singing them to from the get-go was a protest against Russian oppression. Janet?
And thank you, Nancy, for looking up the background of this song. This song just touches my heart, and it's been going through my mind every day as I think about Ukraine with heartbreak. So let's sing it together. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But
Now, our animal ministry moment this morning is a little different because clearly I am not Graham. However, this morning our animal ministry moment is all about context, or you could call it the reframe is everything. So listen closely to this poem about the hippo. I understand that the hippo on land is an animal lacking in grace. His body is stout and he lumbers about, and he looks like he's quite out of place. But the hippo will gloat when he jumps in to float, and you see just his eyes and his nose. He bobs with such ease, like a cloud on the breeze. It's where he belongs, I suppose. And here is the second offering, again, under the umbrella of context counts, sometimes more than we know. This one is titled, Mother Doesn't Want a Dog. Mother doesn't want a dog. Mother says they smell, and never sit when you say sit, or even when you yell. When you come home late at night, and there is ice and snow, you have to go back out because the dumb dog has to go. Mother doesn't want a dog. Mother says they shed, and always let the strangers in and bark at friends instead. They do disgraceful things on rugs, and track mud on the floor, and flop upon your bed at night and snore their doggy snore. Mother doesn't want a dog. She's making a mistake, because more than a dog, I think she will not want this snake. I've often thought that Bram has the most fun role in the service. And that was fun. Now, our moment for all ages today is titled The Joy in You. This is a children's book, and I'm fully aware that if I were to flash the pictures at you, you can't really see them, so I will leave it on the table so that you can look at them later. So I invite you, since we are all children at heart, if not chronologically, to let your inner child out to absorb the simple message of this story. It goes like this. Cuddle in close and listen ever so carefully. In this wonderful world, you can do anything. Whoever you are, wherever you're from, whatever you want to try, always know you can. You can sing. If you love to sing, sing. Shout at the top of your lungs, or whisper, soft and sweet. You can dance. If you love to dance, dance, and Judy will dance with you. Let the music move your body and find your very own rhythm. You can share, you can care, you can create, you can learn, you can wonder. You also can wander. If you want to, you can even fly. Imagination will take you to the most amazing places. Dream big as the night sky full of stars. When you discover the things you love, you'll find true joy. And the illustrations, as you can see, multicolored, highly creative, they're great fun.
As always, we pause for a moment to thank everyone for contributing to the ongoing support of our congregation. Your gifts make it possible for us to pay salaries, utilities, our mortgage, and other expenses, all of which are necessary to our continued existence. Does anybody need the basket to be passed?
Yep, I guess we're good. Okay, then, we'll sing our chorus. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. Thank you. Now, if you would open your hymnal in the back to number 534, we are going to do the responsive reading titled Gloria. Let us stand as we're able. Now you will notice that it's set up with a one word and then a couplet. I'm going to read the words because I know you'll all yell at me if I make you say Nam-myoho Renge Kyo yourselves. So I will take the bold text and proclaim the word of joy, and Janet will lead you in reading the couplet that follows that explains that. Gloria,
the tenacity of earth and its creatures,
Kyrie eleison,
these children who will go on to save what we cannot.
Baruch atah Adonai,
The ordinary tenacity of plants and of people,
Om,
the center of the universe which is everywhere, not the least place in the human heart.
Alleluia,
Love that survives anger and winter and despair and sorrow and even death.
Shalom,
Love that persists.
Nam-myoho Renge Kyo,
Calm that is the seed in the dark.
Amen.
For endings that are beginnings. For beginnings that are endings.
Alleluia,
For the circle, the spiral, the web, the egg, the orbit, the center, the seed, the flower, the fruit, the opening, the death, the release, the seed.
Amen.
We are going on.
Amen.
It is going on.
Amen.
Blessed be.
Thank you. Please be seated. Depending on which dictionary you look up the word joy in, you get very different answers. A common English dictionary links it to happiness and often ties it to success. Some definitions equate joy with getting what you want, all of which do make a certain kind of sense, but that's a limited sense. When I decided to focus on joy today, what I had in mind was a much deeper experience, one that isn't dependent on success or on getting what we want. Because if that's all joy is, or if that's the only way to experience it, then sadly, most of us are going to be joyless most of the time. Because the truth is that we don't often get what we want. We often don't succeed. And yet, joy still happens. Joy still guides our lives. So we need to ask ourselves, how can that be? Now, maybe you woke up this morning and felt terrific. The sun is shining, the sky is blue, and you got a great night's sleep. You stretch and you belt out. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Come on, sing it with me. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Yeah, right. Okay. So now we're all smiling, or at least most of us are. Deep breathing, joyful noise, positive sentiment. It's great. We get out of bed and we discover that breakfast is ready, and it's our favorite. Fill in whatever that might be for you. You sit down and you pick up your device, In the old days, we picked up newspapers, and the headlines hit you like a slap upside the head. War, oppression, corruption, disease, dishonesty, hunger, racism, homelessness, sexual discrimination, abuse of elders, children, and people of all ages and stages. Your coffee still smells really good, but it is hard to get happy after all that. If we really care about the world we live in and the people that we share the planet with, our mood has likely taken a severe nosedive. Reality is a mood killer. Seriously, it's a wonder we didn't all crawl back into bed and pull the covers over our heads. But the thing is, most days, we don't. In fact, some of us are actually good at holding on to joy despite the ugly realities that face us every day. I once knew a woman named Sandra. Sandra had a fantastic sense of humor. She laughed a lot, and she had a really infectious laugh. If Sandra laughed, everybody laughed. She was also generous and kind. She had a gift for making people feel good when they visited with her. And people visited her a lot because Sandra was largely housebound. She had severe asthma and COPD that limited her ability to do pretty much anything. She was often in and out of the hospital and on a first-name basis with the ICU staff. You really don't want to know the ICU staff that well. One day someone asked her, "How do you do it? How do you go through all of this stuff and not go nuts when we all leave?" Or maybe you do. You can't breathe, you're in chronic pain, you're stuck at home most of the time. How come you're so happy? And she got very serious, Sandra did, and said, "I'm not crazy. I don't enjoy any of those things you just named. Pain is awful, and gasping for breath is terrifying. But I flatly refuse to give up my joy because of it." She went on to explain that there were times when she definitely felt overwhelmed. She was not happy all the time. But she had made a commitment to finding joy in her life and literally enjoying everything she possibly could. And it made all the difference in the world. She monitored herself and her feelings, and she chose to act and interact in ways that brought her joy. So Sandra laughed long and hard at jokes. She baked things that she enjoyed and shared them with others because she enjoyed seeing other people enjoy her baked goods. She dressed in bright colors. I have never seen housecoats come in so many vivid colors in my life. And she scented the air in her apartment and had extra pillows and cushions for her guests' comfort when we came to visit. She engaged seriously with the books that her book club read. She stayed connected to people. No matter what happened, she refused to relinquish her joy. She did things that made her happy. She listened to music that moved her. She watched movies and TV shows that entertained her. And she did it all while experiencing really nasty health crises. When Sandra died, people laughed and cried at the same time. They grieved that they'd lost this wonderful person from their lives. Their grief was real. And they laughed and joked and celebrated her life and figured she was either taking heaven or crossing the rainbow bridge or winging her way through the universe by storm with a joyful grin on her face as she took in whatever came next. What brought Sandra joy was her wholehearted embrace of life. When it was hard, when it hurt, when absolutely nothing seemed to be going her way, she refused to stop there. She didn't get stuck in those experiences. She examined them, she learned from them, and she looked forward to seeing how things were going to grow from there. She expected joy, and she found it all the time. Not because everything made her happy, and not because she wasn't hurt or in pain or didn't have her heart broken, but because she was determined not to let go of joy in her life. Instead of thinking that joy depended on success and feeling good and getting what she wanted, Sandra held joy as a constant and used it to inform everything else. She once said that there was a lot she couldn't do that she really wanted to, or a lot that she couldn't undo that she wished she could. She didn't have the power to fix the ills of the world, or even of just her own life. But she could commit to joy, to finding it, to creating it, and to cultivating it. Remember Pollyanna? Yeah. The story goes that Pollyanna's family were poor missionaries stationed halfway around the world somewhere from America, and supplies from home arrived in a big barrel every year from the Missionary Society for their family. And one year, Pollyanna, who was a school-age girl at this point, really wanted a doll. She didn't have any, because, you know, that's a luxury and missionaries didn't get luxuries. So she was really hoping that the Missionary Society ladies would tuck a doll for her into that barrel. And when the barrel arrived that year, she and her family unpacked it down to the last item, which she really hoped was her doll. When they unwrapped it, the family discovered they'd been sent a pair of crutches. Pollyanna was crushed, so disappointed. Her father said, you know, let's play the glad game, which consisted of finding something about everything, in this instance, the crutches, that they could be glad about. What could they be glad about in regard to the crutches? Well, ultimately, what they came up with was they could be glad that no one in the family needed them. Pollyanna played the glad game a lot. She drove people nuts with it. Most of the adults around her thought she was a little crazy with it. It became a contest among them to see who could stump Pollyanna, who could come up with something that little girl can't find something to be glad about. And even now, her name is synonymous with someone who we think has an unrealistically positive outlook. But here's the thing. It works. It works a lot of the time. Not all the time, and there are some things that it's not appropriate to find good in. When a crime is committed, it's not helpful to run around finding things to be glad about. I'm sure you can identify other situations as well. Russia's actions of war against Ukraine, for example. Nothing good justifies overt evil and destruction. But an attitude that predisposes us to find the good, to hold on to joy, that's healthy. It helps us to heal physically, mentally, and spiritually. Research shows us that people who are looking for the good and embracing that heal faster. Physical wounds, mental and emotional trauma, and spiritual issues all come together and heal better when that's our approach. It helps to open us to new possibilities that focusing exclusively on what's wrong or only the negative rarely, if ever, does. The experience of joy in the midst of darkness is behind images like every cloud has a silver lining, or maybe it's always darkest right before dawn. That's not literally true, but reminding ourselves, whatever the catchphrase is, of things like that reinforces our stamina. Because if we are truly joyless, and there's no joy in our lives, life loses its meaning. A Unitarian minister from the mid-1900s named A. Powell Davies said this about Unitarian spirituality and, by extension, Unitarian people, which is us. And I say Unitarian and not UU because this predates the merger by a number of years between the Unitarians and the Universalists. So this is a piece of your spiritual ancestry. He said this: truth lives in minds that are formed by it, or broken by betrayal of it. Beauty lives in hearts that respond to it. Justice is alive in generation after generation. The spiritual is a living reality. And so it is with joy. It is real because we perceive it. We respond to it. We keep it alive. In order to do that, we make a conscious commitment to it. Now, one of the popular buzzwords of our time is intentionality. It's a good word. It implies autonomy and responsibility along with desire. If we intend for something to happen, we want it to happen. We're involved in creating and cultivating it. Like other abstract values, Davies mentioned beauty and truth and justice. Like those abstract values that are sometimes easier than others to hold on to, joy is part of our frame of reference. It's part of our default position. It's similar to hope and to love. It cannot be bought or earned, and we don't live well without it. We may all be a little joy impaired these days, which is understandable. And it will do no one any good to judge, critique, chastise, or complain about that. We could sit here and moan about how we're moaning, but seriously, what's that going to get us? But we can deliberately choose to resurrect joy in our lives. So start small. Go online and read jokes until one of them makes you laugh. And then tell the one that made you laugh to someone else and see if it makes them laugh too. Do something that you enjoy and share it with another person. Want a real challenge? I challenge y'all for the next week to play the glad game. Every time you find yourself thinking negatively, challenge yourself to find a positive. Not because it will undo or somehow make it okay, whatever that negative is, but because we need to validate the positive, independent of the negative. And this can actually be pretty challenging. But like many challenges, it can also change your life. For example, I said earlier that I would not apply the glad game to the war against Ukraine. But you know what? When I'm thinking about that, I would apply it to circumstances around it. For example, we can be glad that people are helping refugees. It's like when Bram mentioned a week or so ago that she and Roxy were really glad that people were meeting refugees at the border and taking care of their pets. You know, the whole thing is horrendous and god-awful, but that is something that we can be glad about. We can be glad that we have as much information as we do that enables us to act in meaningful ways to help, too. I will never be glad of war. I can be glad that I know about it and that I can find ways to act to relieve the suffering that war causes. There are other issues that are similar and really require a stretch to find something to be glad about, which challenges us to create something good. And there are other issues that are easy to find something to be glad about, that reduce us to giggles in our minds, if not out loud. And those are important. They help us maintain our equilibrium. So we can do this. This is life, as our sign out front says now. I'm sure you've looked at it, coming and going in and out of the parking lot. It says, some people say life is hard. Compared to what? Seriously. This is life. This is our life. We are in it for the long haul. Committing to joy and seeking it out is a tactic for survival. So go read poetry or history, go hiking or paint or mess around with clay or fiber art, or go swimming or fishing or cook like my friend Sandra used to do. Make something fantastic. Be intentional about joy. And we are all likely to discover that the long haul is well worth the journey. Shalom. And I am glad, oh, you're not going to believe this, we've got time for a response. I don't even know how I did it. I've been trying week after week to condense things down, and we succeeded. So, Judy, did you want to say something?
Yes.
Janet, can I ask you to take the mic? There.
You forgot to say or dance.
I didn't forget, I was waiting for you. I can't say everything. And you're right.
Your sermon today really, really spoke to me. I am a person who tends to see the negative and dwell in it and doesn't see joy. But I was thinking, my mother died young. I'm glad she didn't have to get old and decay.
Okay. And you illustrate a really important point, Melinda. Sometimes what we're glad about feels like a little bit of a stretch. That doesn't make it any less real.
What amazed me was, you know, they have their orchestras, they have their people that are singing, and they're, you know, I never saw during a war that people would, that is upholding the people that are in Ukraine.
Anybody else like the microphone? I would like to hear some of the stuff that brings you joy, because if we share it, it will start us thinking, all of us, about new things. But Kathy, say whatever you were going to.
I don't know what I was going to say.
Okay, what brings you
I
joy?
forgot.
What brings you joy?
The main thing that brings me joy is the ability to travel.
Okay.
Because there's just something, especially in my motorhome, because when I go on long trips, the thing that excites me is learning about where I am.
Okay.
You know, learning the history, or like on Prince Edward Island, my goal was to go find every lighthouse, and I did.
Okay.
And that was joy.
So next week when you're not here, we should light a candle of joy.
That's right,
Okay.
absolutely.
If I forget, people remind me.
Well, I think a lot of mothers probably share this, but I have two sons, and I have good photos of them, although I do not get to see them frequently. But just looking at them
Okay.
brings me joy.
Yes,
Every
looking
time.
at the pictures. The math.
I have two things that bring me joy. Of course, kids, and because they are just so open and they share their joy. When we were doing the meditation, I was imagining myself on the floor with the kids all over me, and everybody laughing and being happy. The other thing I was imagining, which goes with you, Karen, was my daughter and the joy. I have never seen such joy on her face, as on her face at least. When she graduated from high school, after the graduation, she had a smile. She couldn't wipe that smile off if she tried. It was just plastered. She had had a hard time in high school, and graduating for her was a real accomplishment. And I looked at my husband, I said, that kid cannot stop smiling. And it was so joyful.
Thank you.
Animals, both wild and domestic, like Tater. I love having Tater here.
Anyone or anything else?
Well, I would like to share something.
Good.
Or a couple of things. Yes, kids. And so yesterday, my daughter and her two kids and I went up to Ghost Ranch because my little granddaughter is doing a report on Georgia O'Keeffe. And so we thought that would be a good place to take them. And not only do I just feel so wonderful when I'm around my kids and grandkids, but I just love New Mexico. And when I get out in places in New Mexico, it just fills my heart. The other thing is that this Friday night will be the first time my little girls get to spend the night with me. We were going to start that several years ago, and then COVID came. And so I'm going to be able to help out my son. And I just want to say one more thing about a funeral. So I had an aunt, she was my mother's sister, and she lived in a very small town, and she ran my grandmother's restaurant after my grandmother retired from it. And all of her life, she was just joking and carrying on, and she had quite a reputation in that little tiny town of just being funny and kind of flirty. And so at her funeral in a Baptist church in a fairly conservative town, I didn't know what to expect. My cousins had, figured everything out. And so we were listening for the first song, and it came on, and it was, well, hello, Dolly. We're so glad to have you back where you belong. That was joyful.
Okay. I have to say that the one picture, as you were speaking, Karen, and Laurel, you talked about children, what flashed through my mind was one stray afternoon that I went to pick my daughter, my oldest, firstborn daughter. She was about 9 months old, up at daycare. And I came in the room, and she turned around and saw me and was so wildly excited to see me. I could not believe that I had been the occasion of that much joy in a person's life. And at that point, she wasn't quite walking, and she could move faster crawling, so she fell to the floor and came, across the floor with this huge grin. And I don't know how we use the expression, their face lit up. Seriously, I don't know how that happens, but I know that it looks different than a face that doesn't do that. And it was like there was a 1,000-watt bulb in that kid's head. And I'm sure we all have memories, photos, all that kind of stuff. So please, use them. Don't let them just sit on the shelf. Don't convince yourself that, well, the world is a mess and it would just be trivial to pull this stuff. It matters more than you know, that we keep our hold on joy, that we incorporate that we don't let go of it. So I'm going to ask you to stand and open again to Spirit of Life, because this talks about roots and wings. It's number 123, and we're just going to sing it through, and I'm going to try and speed it up a little, because yes, we're happy here. So let's stand and do that, and then we will extinguish our chalice and go from there. And if I run away with it, I'll apologize in advance. But let it be an expression of what we're taking with us and all of that good stuff. Spirit of life, come unto me.
my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots holding close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I know we don't usually race through music, but sometimes you just need to get that spirit of exhilaration into the sound in the air. Now, if you would take your bulletin and join me in the words as our chalice light is extinguished, and Jen, I put this supper right there.
I'm sorry.
If you,
Yes. That's my job.
Our chalice flame is extinguished from our sight, yet we carry it deep within our hearts. May it inform our lives in all things, transforming us with joy and connecting us to each other in love. Shalom. May you find joy in who you are. May you find joy in how you live. May you find joy in all you set your heart and hand and mind to. May you never be persuaded to abandon joy. May it always inform and direct your life. Shalom.
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 And now if we face each other, we will sing Go Now in Peace. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.